So have you ever like stared at your bank account and you're like, where did all my money go?
Yeah,
I think we've all been there, right?
definitely.
So this deep dive is going to help us all kind of get a grip on our finances and really make our money work for us.
Exactly. And you know what's interesting is we're working with a source that basically packs like a ton of advice into a short amount of time.
Oh, wow.
It's like they cover budgeting, spending, saving, investing,
Whoa.
all in like 20 minutes.
Oh, my gosh. That's amazing.
It's incredible.
I'm very excited to dive in. There were a couple things that I saw that I thought were super interesting, like the 24-hour rule for impulse buys.
Oh, yeah.
I definitely need that.
Yeah.
And then also, they share a story about a listener who automated their savings and ended up with a $5,000 emergency fund.
Oh, wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's the dream, right?
That's the dream for sure.
Absolutely. And you know, it all starts with this financial health checkup.
Okay.
It's like understanding where you are right now.
Yeah.
The source really emphasizes, knowing your numbers. Right.
It's like laying the foundation before you build a house.
Okay, so walk me through this. What are the must-know numbers that everyone should have a handle on?
Well, you want to start with your income, obviously.
Right.
And then break down your expenses.
Okay.
So that means listing your fixed expenses like your rent and your utilities and all that stuff.
Got it.
But also diving into those variable expenses like groceries, entertainment,
Yeah.
and even those like irregular expenses that sneak up on you,
Oh, yeah.
like annual subscriptions.
Oh, tell me about it. I feel like I'm signing up for new streaming services every other week. But once you have a clear picture of your spending, what's next?
Well, then the source recommends you actually calculate your total spending from like the last month.
Oh, okay.
Don't just like skim your statements.
Really get in there.
Actually crunch those numbers.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you start to see patterns and stuff you might have missed.
Right. Okay, so then we get to the fun part, which is setting financial goals.
Yes.
Is this where we get to dream big? This is where you dream big.
Okay.
You think short term, like a trip.
Yeah.
You think medium term, like maybe a down payment on a house.
Mm-hmm.
And then long term, what does retirement look like for you?
I love it.
But the key is to attach like concrete numbers to these goals.
That's out of your point.
So like, say you want to travel to Italy next year.
Okay.
How much do you need to save each month to make that happen?
Yeah. That's a great way to turn a daydream into a reality.
Exactly.
Okay. So once we got our goals and we kind of know where our money's going,
Yeah.
then it's time for budgeting.
Right?
And I feel like that's a word that makes people sweat.
I know.
A lot of people is just like, oh, no budgeting.
I know, it's like scary.
Right.
But this source breaks down some like really effective budgeting methods
Right.
in a way that's like approachable.
Okay, good.
So they talk about the 50-30-20 rule,
Yeah, I've heard of that.
which is super simple.
Okay.
It's like 50% of your income to your needs, 30% to your wants, and then 20% to savings and investments. It's like a great starting point, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure. What if you need something more detailed, though?
Then there's zero-based budgeting.
Okay.
This is where you allocate like every single dollar you earn
Right.
to a specific purpose until you hit zero.
Oh, wow.
It's definitely more hands-on,
Yeah.
but it can be like a game changer if you really want to like stay on top of your spending.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I guess the takeaway here is like there's no one size fits all.
Exactly.
It's all about finding what works for you.
It's about your personality and your lifestyle.
Exactly. But no matter what budgeting method you choose, one thing this source really highlights is the power of automation.
Yes.
Why is that so important?
Well, automating your savings and bill payments is essentially like putting your finances on autopilot.
Oh, I like that.
So you're removing the temptation to like spend that money
Yeah,
that's already earmarked for something else.
that's so smart.
Think of it as like paying yourself first.
Yes.
It's like a key principle of financial success.
And that's where that listener story comes in, right? The one who built a $5,000 emergency fund just through automating.
Exactly.
It's such a good example of how that one small change can have a huge impact.
Absolutely. And speaking of small changes, let's move on to some of the source's tips for spending wisely.
Okay. But spending wisely doesn't mean like depriving ourselves, right?
I don't know.
I still want to enjoy life.
Of course, it's all about making informed choices that align with your goals.
Okay.
And this is where the 24-hour rule is like one of those simple yet effective tricks to avoid impulse buys.
Okay. Break that down for me. What exactly is the 24-hour rule?
So before you buy anything non-essential, especially like, those add to cart moments online,
Oh, yeah. I know those very well.
you give yourself a full 24 hours to think it over.
Okay. Oh, that makes so much sense because I can't tell you how many times I've bought something and then later I'm like, why did I buy that?
Exactly.
So that 24 hours would definitely help me figure out, like, do I actually need this or am I just caught up in the moment?
Right. It helps you break that cycle of like emotional spending. It
Yes.
allows you to make a rational decision.
Yeah.
And even if you decide to buy it after the 24 hours, at least, it was a conscious choice.
Exactly. Okay, so what other spending wisdom did this source have in store for us?
Well, they talk about making your money work for you
Okay.
through cashback and rewards programs.
Ooh, I love a good rewards program.
Yeah. So think about, cashback apps, rewards, credit cards.
Yes.
It can really add up.
But there's always that little voice in my head that's like, be careful with the credit cards.
Yes. And that voice is right because you have to use those credit cards responsibly.
Right.
If you're not careful, you can end up in a cycle of debt.
Exactly. And then it defeats the whole purpose of the rewards.
Yeah.
Pay those balances off in full each month.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What else stood out to you?
Okay. So they had a really interesting segment on meal planning.
Okay.
Now, you might be thinking, what does meal planning have to do with my finances?
Right.
But hear me out. It's a strategy that actually saves you money and time.
Okay. I'm all ears because I've tried meal planning and sometimes it's great and sometimes it's a total disaster.
Yeah.
But when it works, it's amazing how much less I spend on groceries and takeout.
Exactly, because it helps you avoid those last minute, there's nothing in the fridge moments.
Yes.
Which then lead to like expensive takeout orders.
Exactly.
Plus you end up wasting less food.
That's true.
Which saves you money in the long run.
It's a win-win.
It is.
Okay, so we've talked about knowing our numbers, budgeting, and spending wisely.
Yes.
Now let's talk about the fun part.
Yes.
Building wealth through saving and investment.
Yes.
This is where things get exciting.
This is my favorite part.
Me too.
This is where the source really shines.
Okay.
Offering some really clear, actionable steps to grow your money over time.
Awesome.
And it all starts with, you guessed it, paying yourself first.
Okay, so remind me again why that's so important.
Well, it's about consistently setting aside a portion of your income.
Okay.
For savings or whatever, like as soon as you get paid.
Right.
Not just with whatever's left over at the end of the month.
Got it.
It's like building that foundation we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Except this time it's for your financial future.
Yes, and then once you have that solid foundation, then we can start exploring the magic of compound interest through investing.
Yes, compound interest is like the eighth wonder of the world.
I love it.
It's that snowball effect.
Yes.
Where, your earnings generate more earnings, and it just keeps rolling and growing.
I love that visual. But investing can feel really intimidating because there's so many options, so many different strategies.
I know, it's a lot.
Where do you even begin?
Well, that's where the source provides some great guidance.
Okay.
For beginners, they introduce some really accessible options, like index funds, ETFs, robo-advisors.
Got it.
These are great ways to kind of dip your toes into the investment waters.
Okay, that makes me feel a lot better.
Yeah.
But I know there's risks involved with investing, right?
Of course, every investment comes with some level of risk.
Right.
That's why the source emphasizes two key things.
Okay.
Diversifying your investments and doing your research.
So important.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
And make sure you understand what you're investing in before you commit.
Mm-hmm. And that's also where a financial advisor can come in handy.
Definitely.
Right. They can be like your guide.
Exactly.
To help you navigate all the complexities.
They can.
Okay, so even before you jump into investing, though, this source really emphasizes that emergency fund.
Yes, that emergency fund is your safety net.
Yes.
It's there to protect you in case of like unexpected events.
Like what kind of events?
Job loss, medical emergencies.
Oh, yeah.
Life throws curveballs.
It does.
And having that cushion can make all the difference.
You know what I love about this source is that it really takes a holistic approach to personal finance.
I agree.
It's not just about the numbers and the spreadsheets.
It's not just about that.
It's about like understanding the psychology behind our money habits and making choices that align with our values.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so effective.
Yeah.
It's not just telling you what to do.
Right.
It's about helping you understand why you should do it.
That's a good point.
And I think that's what's resonating with you so much.
You're right. You hit the nail on the head.
I did.
I'm curious, is there one takeaway that like really resonated with you from this source?
Okay, so for me, it was the reminder to be mindful of our money scripts.
Money scripts?
Yeah, have you ever heard of that?
I don't think so.
So basically, it's like these subconscious beliefs we have about money.
Oh, interesting.
That are shaped by, our upbringing and past experiences.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Because, yeah, you're right. Our experiences definitely influence, like, how we think about money and how we spend money.
It's like having these hidden programs running in the background,
Yeah.
shaping our attitudes and behaviors towards money.
Right. And sometimes those are helpful, and sometimes they can totally sabotage us.
Exactly.
So how do we rewrite those negative money scripts?
Well, the source suggests some practical exercises like journaling
Oh, interesting.
about your beliefs and experiences with money.
Okay.
It's a way to kind of like bring those subconscious thoughts to the surface and start to examine them.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You can also talk to like a financial therapist
Oh, right.
who can help you identify and address those limiting beliefs.
That's a really good idea because sometimes I think we need a little help,
We do.
right? Like from a professional to really unpack that stuff.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground, like budgeting, saving,
Mm-hmm.
investing, even the psychology behind our money habits.
We have.
But there's one topic that we haven't touched on yet, which is debt,
Oh, yeah.
which is something I think a lot of people struggle with.
Yeah, it can feel really overwhelming.
Very overwhelming.
But debt is a reality for many people.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't have to be like a life sentence.
Right.
The good news is there are effective strategies to like get out of debt and stay out of debt.
And I know our source had some great advice on that.
They did. It all starts with understanding the different types of debt.
Okay.
Good debt versus bad debt.
Right. Remind me, what's the difference?
Okay, so good debt is generally considered debt that's used to invest in assets
Okay.
that will appreciate in value over time.
Okay.
So think like a mortgage for a home
Okay.
or a student loan
Okay.
for an education that will lead to higher earning potential.
Got it. So bad debt would be like,
Debt used to purchase things that depreciate quickly.
okay.
So think like credit card debt
For clothes.
for clothes, electronics, anything you consume immediately.
Right. Okay. So the key is to minimize that bad debt and then pay it off as quickly as possible.
Yes.
Okay. What are some strategies for doing that?
Okay, well, the source outlines a couple popular methods.
Okay.
The debt snowball and the debt avalanche.
Okay. I've heard of those.
Okay, so with the debt snowball, you basically focus on paying off your smallest debts first,
Okay.
regardless of the interest rate.
Oh, interesting.
This approach helps you build momentum.
Right. You see those little wins.
Exactly, and you get motivated.
I like that. Okay. What about the debt avalanche?
So the debt avalanche focuses on tackling your highest interest rate debts first.
Okay.
So this approach saves you the most money on interest charges in the long run.
Right. Okay. So both great strategies. You just have to pick which one works for you.
Exactly. Find what works best for your personality.
And your financial situation.
Yes.
But there's another tip that I think is often overlooked, and this source mentions it,
Okay, what's that?
which is negotiating with creditors.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't realize that they can often negotiate lower interest rates or even settlements
Right.
just by like reaching out to the creditors and having a conversation.
You'd be surprised what you can accomplish just by asking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, okay, we talked about managing debt, but what about building a good credit history?
Okay.
Why is that so important?
Well, your credit score is like your financial reputation.
Okay.
It impacts your ability to get loans,
Right.
to rent an apartment, even to secure certain jobs.
Wow, it's like your financial report card.
It is. It is.
What were some of the key takeaways about building good credit from the source?
Well, they break down like how credit scores are calculated
Okay.
and debunk some common myths.
Okay.
It all boils down to a few things.
Okay.
Pay your bills on time every time.
Important.
Keep your credit utilization low,
Okay.
meaning don't rax out those credit cards.
Got it.
And then diversify your credit mix
Okay.
by having a combination of credit cards and loans.
So mix it up.
Mix it up. But there are also some surprising things that can impact your score.
Like what?
So like closing old credit cards
Oh, right.
doesn't always help. It can actually hurt your score
Oh, wow.
if it reduces your overall available credit.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, so it's all about being informed
Right.
and making those smart choices that will benefit you in the long run.
I love that. Okay, so I think our listeners are feeling a lot more informed and empowered to really like take control of their financial lives.
Yeah, I hope so.
But before we wrap up, there's one more crucial topic.
Okay.
Protecting ourselves from financial scams.
Oh, yes.
It feels like every day there's a new scam popping up.
I know.
And it's really hard to know what to watch out for.
Right. Financial fraud is on the rise.
Mm-hmm.
It's more important than ever to be vigilant.
Okay, so the source had some good tips for like identifying and avoiding scams.
Mm-hmm.
What are some things we should watch out for?
Okay, so be wary of unsolicited offers, especially those that seem too good to be true.
Right, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
It probably is.
Okay.
Guard your personal information carefully.
Okay.
Be cautious about sharing it online or over the phone. And if something feels off, report it to the appropriate authorities.
Better to be safe than sorry. Okay, so we covered a lot in this deep dive.
We did.
Budgeting, saving, investing, managing debt, building credit, and even avoiding scams.
It's been a whirlwind.
It has been a whirlwind of financial wisdom.
I hope our listeners feel equipped with the knowledge and strategies to take control of their financial lives.
And remember, even small steps can make a big difference over time.
Absolutely.
So start with one actionable tip that resonated with you from this deep dive.
Yes.
And commit to making that positive change.
You got this.
Whether it's setting up a budget, automating your savings, or tackling that debt, we believe in you.
We do.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into mastering your money.
We'll see you on the next one.